What's up, you beautiful collectors and Transformer fans? Once again, it's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to the absolutely incredible support from all of my Optibotimus Plus channel members, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class Airazor as she appears in the upcoming Transformers Rise of the Beasts film. In 2007, with the release of the original Transformers movie from Michael Bay, I started bringing you guys Transformer reviews. And here we are, over 15 years later, bringing you new toy reviews for Transformers 7. There have been a lot of reviewers who have come and gone over the last 15 plus years. And while, yeah, I am probably not the go-to guy anymore, I freely admit that. But some of you have been with me all this time, and truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for sticking with me for 15 plus years and enjoying my content from the very first 2007 Voyager class Ironhide review I did to the start of a new movie line with Transformers 7 Rise of the Beasts. For her package, you can see, as usual, it is that very standard Transformers Studio Series box with the Transformers text, the Generation logo. Of course, you got the Transformers Rise of the Beast logo right up there at the top. You also have that here at the top of the actual box. But you can see that she is on full display in her beast mode here in the front, which looks amazing. Come around to the side, you got an up-close image of her head. The other side here shows that she's an Autobot, or specifically a Maximal. So I wish they would have changed that, but whatever. Come around to the back. You can see that she transforms in 23 steps. You got images of her in her robot and her beast mode. And much like all the Studio Series figures that we've gotten in the past, she does come with a background as well, which we'll take a closer look at here in a second, but for the packaging on her, that's about it. So, without further ado, let's get this party started and get her out here so we can see how cool she actually is. And here we have the new Rise of the Beast Airazor opened up and out of her packaging. And obviously, as you can tell, she's in her Falcon mode. Now, truthfully, at this moment, we do not know if this figure is entirely movie accurate. For the most part, early releases of action figures rarely are accurate to how they actually end up looking in films. Especially when you're talking about CGI characters. Because a lot of times, toy companies are given early looks at their characters and then start to design their figures around that. But over the full production, the look usually changes. So, honestly, this might be fairly close, but I'd be willing to bet right now that it'll be a few years before we actually get a far more movie-accurate representation of Airazor from the film. Even when you look at the current Studio Series line, here we are almost 100 figures into it, and they don't always get it right the first time around. Look at characters like Hot Rod or Lockdown, even Crosshairs. It was several years before we got far more accurate representations of those characters. So again, Airazor will probably get updated eventually, but in the meantime, this is still a really good figure. Utilizing the design of the Transformers Kingdom Deluxe Class Airazor, you can see the biggest difference is the size. Both of these are deluxe scale figures, but what they essentially did was remold just about every piece on this newer version and upscaled her. So she utilizes basically the exact same engineering, but you create a different look for the figure, number one, by having the new parts, and number two, by having a larger size, which I really appreciate because even in that first trailer, we could see that the Beast characters are very large. Granted, in the scene that we see with Airazor, it's kind of hard to judge, but in looking at that scene with Optimus Primal and Optimus Prime, you can see that Primal is very large. And then later on, you can see Cheetor running alongside Bumblebee, and Cheetor is actually bigger than a car. So I love the fact that this is scaled up. Despite the fact that it utilizes the same engineering, it is a very different feeling figure. One thing, obviously, there is a obvious weight difference here, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that this one is just smaller, but great detail all the way around. coming in to take a closer look at her, and we'll do a little bit of a focus kind of look bot mode as well, but that is a terrific looking head sculpt. You can see gorgeous green eyes right there, the silver beak, all the way around. Even when you look at the internal detail here, you can see a lot of real nice mechanical feather look, which is really very cool. I also like how you can open her mouth and go, caw. You can do that if you want to. But on the inside here, you can see a lot of that detail like I was talking about. Great detail with just about every aspect of it. Granted, you do have a little bit of an ugliness underneath here. That was, again, very noticeable in that original Airazor figure. And it carries over on here as well, but it doesn't bother me too much. Really large feet, which look really good. Nice silver paint on there. Come around to the back. And again, this is where you can see a lot of that really cool detail in the wings, especially when you look at the little tail wing right here, where you can see these little feather details in better detail. You can see like there's a lot of different line work in there. I mean, absolutely amazing all the way around. It's kind of funny with these little circle bits here. I get a laser beak vibe from Dark of the Moon. That's kind of interesting, but very, very cool and large. Like I said, you can see just how big this wingspan gets. If I bring in the other Airazor and open her wings up, you can see just how kind of small she is by comparison to the new one. I mean, that is quite impressive when you look at that overall change in the size. But again, very cool, and you can even see like much thicker wings there. I mean, I really dig that. For her articulation in this mode, again, it's all very much similar to that previous one. You have an up and down here at the neck. You can rotate it around so you can kind of get her looking side to side. It's more side to side when it's like that. When she's flying and she turns her head, that's kind of weird, but it is what it is. A lot of different hinges here throughout the wings, so you can get a lot of different poses in terms of flight looking and flapping, and that's still basically the same as before. But no, actually, you know, that was my fault entirely. I pushed too terribly far. But you can get like a lot of real cool dynamic flying poses with her. The little tail here can move up and down. These legs here, again, very similar to the other one. You can kind of bend this back, get that out of the way, and you can bring these kind of back where she's going to be flying around like that. It does kind of look much like the other one, like she's just crotched. This does kind of collapse a little bit better than this one. I don't. That's probably just the overall design of it, but you can really kind of hinge that around to kind of hide things and get a good look with her. I mean, super awesome. I mean, that is really, I love it. I really do. I mean, even if she doesn't end up looking like this in the film, I think this is a really cool looking toy. Really do dig that. Now, transformation-wise is identical. I'm not going to overly focus on it too terribly much, but if you transformed Airazor, you know exactly what you're doing with this figure. So, bring these legs down, they clip in there just like the other one did. Rotate right up here. There we go. And then, oh wait, did I do that right? No, I did that wrong. Sorry. Rotate that around, and then, oh no, actually I did do that right. And then you need to rotate these feet around. Now, if you have it hinged like that, you're going to want to bring that back all the way. Kind of set that right there. These arms are going to come out just like that. Fold out the hands. These wings, you can angle these back and then separate this little back section. Pull that all the way back, and that allows you to rotate the head down. Now, this part's always kind of stiff and tricky to do, but you got these double hinges. You want to hinge that down. Do that on both sides. It's a little bit easier to kind of do it at the same time, but it's hard to do it at the same time as well. So kind of hinge that down. There we go. Just like that. And then bring this beak section down. And this will actually lock in underneath here. Just like that. Did I get... Oh, see, yeah. You usually bring one hinge down and it usually goes together, but not always. So that does get stiff to do. So... Come on. Just fight with that down. Again, if you transformed Airazor, you know exactly what you're doing with this, so it's not a surprise. I just have a hard time doing it. There we go. Collapse that. Get that in there. Put the little beak down in here. Do I have that fully down? I think I do. It's hard to see because it's along the side here. But there we go. All right. And then this is going to come up and lock in there. That'll come down. Straighten everything out. These wings have that same hinge sort of thing where you got the hinge pieces here that allow you to take this tab, bend this all the way around, push that all the way down, and then give this a good push. Again, keeping that bent there and feeding that. I did that again. Feeding that piece in. So many different hinges here. And this one is like stiff here. Come on. There we go. And that will lock into place. Do that on this side as well. Get this all the way hinged back. These hinges are really stiff. I love that and hate that. There we go. Come on. There we go. Lock that in. Where'd that wing go? There it is. Pop that off. Again, that's me being a little bit overly aggressive. Straighten that. Bend that. There we go. There we go. Nice and nice. Nice and nice. Does that make even sense? Nice and nice. And straighten that. Then you got these little things here. You can rotate these around. Now these separate, but you really do need to rotate these in beast mode so that there's enough clearance there. But getting that situated. There we go. That is a cool looking beast girl right there. Get that head straightened. Put that. There we go. And when you're done, there you have Airazor in her extremely cool looking robot mode. And again, the overall design of this version of Airazor is very similar to what we got previously, but it definitely has more of that movie aesthetic in terms of creating that very alien look that the movie characters have. Coming in to take a closer look at her, again, the amount of detail that is in this is really very, very well done. You can see gorgeous head sculpt in there. Coming in to take a closer look, you can see what I was talking about in terms of that angular sort of design. I love the edges on there. It really does give kind of a feather look to the entire head sculpt there. I also really love when you look here in the shoulder bits, they got those little molded in feather details, which is really very cool. You can see you got a really nice little Maximo logo painted in there. Kind of blends in and hides, but overall, again, really super, super cool with a lot of intricate details. Even when you look at the thighs right here, again, you can see those sculpted in feather details. Really nice. The legs have that as well, especially when you kind of look on the side here with those little feather bits. So really seems to show that there's a lot of that, I guess, it's going to sound weird, but like a kind of biomechanical sort of look to them, which I think is really cool. Again, really nice overall design. And again, with the size, you can really see what's going on. Now, bringing in the Kingdom version of Airazor again, you can really tell the big difference here. Obviously, is the overall look, but size also really carries over. I mean, this version of her is just bigger, it's bulkier, and while both of them share a lot of detail that's really sculpted into both of the figures, you do have two totally different looks, which I absolutely love. In terms of recreating the two characters, it's quite impressive how they were able to utilize the same engineering. As I said, scale it up a little bit, give it all sorts of new molded pieces, and create a movie version of this character. So again, we don't really know if this is how she's going to look in the film, but this is still a very cool looking toy. Now, for the articulation, the head does get a little bit tricky to do because of how big those little feathery bits are. So you don't get a ton of articulation going around there, but you get the normal kind of looking left and right and then a little bit of up and down. The shoulders here are on ball joints, so you get a full range of motion with that. You have a rotation at the elbow section, you have a bend at the elbow. You also, just as part of the transformation, have a little bit of a wrist sort of swivel going on, forward and back. Nothing really at the waist, unless you kind of lift this up and get the bird's head kind of pulled away. And then you get a swivel going on there, which isn't bad, I don't really think, but you know, when you move it around, it does kind of dislodge things. The hips do move forward and back. Mine's a little bit loose, in and out not so much, forward and back a little bit, but I could probably tighten that up. You do have a rotation very tight up here at the knee, so you get a real good kind of kicking pose going on with her. Yeah, really stiff joints down there, and then the ankles have a really good range of motion, so you get a good kind of ball jointed sort of articulation set right there. The wings you can also open in this kind of configuration. If you wanted to detach them, you can, of course, angle those out a whole lot more, which honestly kind of like getting this all kind of hinged in there. I mean, I really do kind of dig that overall look. I mean, you can attach it in there, and you can kind of fold those down, but I mean, I dig that. I mean, that's really quite cool. And this one, yeah, this definitely likes popping off, so I don't know if there's a way that I can really fix that. This one doesn't really do that. This one definitely does, but that look is really neat. I dig that. If she walks around looking like that in the film, you know, I mean, even kind of like being able to kind of bring these down and around or whatever, you know, just hinge those. I mean, like I said, there's a ton of different hinge points on here. So if these wings are functional in her robot mode here in the film, that'll be cool. In general, I'm really happy with how she turned out. I'm sure you can hear that throughout this entire video, because the transformation is the same. Normally I show the transformation going back to the alt mode, but I'm not really going to focus on that too much now. Everything is basically the same with her, so you don't really need to see that a thousand times. But the overall design of the figure is really cool. I always liked her because of what we got previously, and this was remolded to give us Pterosaur as well, and I thought that was fantastic. The mold just itself works really well. What they were able to do to upscale it and create this look in terms of a movie version for is also outstanding. Now, again, we talked about how a lot of times the film will come around and the look of these characters will change regardless of how she ends up looking in the final film. This particular figure is really cool. Definitely has a very Cybertronian alien look, which has been established in that live action film universe. And I'm really curious to see how things kind of play out. Now, one thing that I didn't mention, and I guess I kind of forgot to show it off, but here is the backdrop for her, and you can see it kind of looks like the jungle area where Primal meets up with Optimus Prime. But one thing that I find very interesting is there's a small read-up right here that says, Airazor leads the Autobots to the Maximal's lair. So there's a little bit of a movie spoiler, I feel, right there. I mean, again, who knows if that's actually what turns out to happen in the movie. But that being said, there's a little bit bigger of a spoiler on this one, which we'll be taking a look at next. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you can get notifications when I upload that video. But overall, I really like how this figure turned out. I think the overall look is amazing. And because it utilizes that design that I already really like, I am super happy with how this figure turned out. Will I eventually replace her when a more accurate, or I should say more potentially accurate version comes out? More than likely, because I like having the most accurate representation of the characters. But in the meantime, she fits perfectly. So all that being said, If the new Transformers Rise of the Beasts Deluxe Class Studio Series Airazor is a figure that you would like to add to your collection, she is available for pre-order on a whole bunch of different websites, including Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon, and even Entertainment Earth. For all of those places, I'll put links right down there in the video description, where you can check out availability on her, as well as the rest of the wide range of Transformer figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. As always, I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching, and please remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Until next time, this has been Optibotimus saying adios, au revoir, and auf Wiedersehen.
And if you don't know, now you know.